Hey everybody, this is Kenny Cummins here. You're chilling with Kenny C right here on tmvcafe.com. My next guest at this time is a recording artist from New Orleans, Louisiana, uh, from the Big Easy. She is a recording artist. She released her latest record called The Starter Wife. She's made a couple appearances in Lexington, and from my understanding, and one of her late recent release project did some recording in Lexington, I believe. So to join us is Miss Daphne Parker Powell. How's it going?
It is going great. So from New Orleans, Louisiana, you would probably know that this is Mardi Gras week, and tomorrow is indeed Fat Tuesday. So it's been an absolutely wild week for us here in Louisiana. Um, and it's only going to get crazier for the next day or so.
I have been to New Orleans once in
Have
my
you?
life. I'm also a Saints fan, so
Excellent. There you
so who that nation
go. Yeah.
representing. So yeah, I love New Orleans. Marty, so this timing of this interview is perfect as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah.
great to have you. So
Calm down,
I've yeah,
arms.
yeah. So
It's
it's
been
great.
crazy. And then tomorrow is Fat Tuesday. So
Yeah,
there we
Fat
go.
Tuesday. Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen you in Lexington a couple
Mhm.
times. I think the last time was at I forgot the name of the place. It was at Lexington. It was
It was
something.
in the brewery. It's a little
Yeah, at the
place
brewery. Yeah, it was in the
too.
brewery area. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you performed some songs off the Starter Life project.
Yeah.
It was good to see you that night. It was on a Monday. I do remember that for sure. Very, very cold.
Weeknight.
Um, yeah, yeah. So it was a good time. It was a good time nonetheless. So we'll talk about this Starter Wife album in just a bit. But how did you get started in music?
Oh man. I feel I've been asked that question before and I've never had a good answer for it. I have always just done it. It's always just been inherent in me, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah,
Um, I grew up in a pretty religious environment, and we sang every church, service and all of that kind of stuff, and that was always fun. But we were pretty poor and we couldn't afford instruments. We didn't have a piano in the house or anything like that. But I could sing. And when I was about 8 years old, my mom had like oldies radio playing on the car stereo. And I think I forget, it was the Ronettes maybe. Um, but it was something to the effect of like, going to the chapel and we're gonna get married. Oh, and so my mom was singing along with the radio, and I was like, going to the chapel and we're going, that's doing the interval harmony there. And my mom looked over at 8-year-old me sitting in the passenger seat of the car, and she said, "Do you know what you're doing right now? Do you understand it?" And this is in, the deep rural southeastern Ohio Appalachian Mountains. you know, I had no frame of reference. I didn't go to concerts as a kid or anything like that. I really understand it, and I had no music theory background. But she told me that was harmony singing and explained how it worked, and then it just lit a fire under me for the rest of my life, just starting to learn to understand music and express it in that way.
yeah. And so just getting to listen to this project here, the Starter Wife. That is your latest full length project. It came out this past October.
Yep.
So it's available on all the platforms. I do have a CD copy of it. So I've been listening to it, and this is definitely an incredible project. Um, so with all that being said, talk about the whole process of putting this project together, and what made you name it the Starter Wife.
Sure. Well, my first five albums were under my married name. I was married for a long time to someone who I built a life with. You know, you do that when you get married. About 11 years, we owned a record store together, and we really, in a lot of ways, we put all of our eggs in the basket of music together. And when that relationship ended, um, the circumstances were not great. They were not very healthy for me. And in going through a lot of personal soul searching and spending time in therapy and really facing like demons to the nth degree, like, you know, sitting in a terrible, terrible dark place and trying to figure out what still makes this worth it to keep going on, what still makes everything matter. And I discovered something about music that in the 40 years previous I had never known, and that was that music heals us. Music has this incredible power to bring us to a safer place, to a calmer place, and a happier place, and a healthier place than we could get to without it, at least for people like me. And other people find their answers in other places, but I feel like universally, music is pretty universally, music is a great healing agent. And so what I did with that sort of new discovery as that was taking place was I assigned myself homework, I guess, in a way. I decided to write a piece of lyric poetry every day for an entire summer, immediately following my divorce. So I ended up with about 93 pieces of poetry, and some of them are garbage because when you're writing that quickly, you know, you're just writing, you're just extemporaneous, you're not really thinking that much about it. But some of it was really, really potent and powerful and good and cool. And it was so much more about self reflection than it was about anger or hurt, that I started to fall a little bit in love with the project just as a way of expressing grief and anger and doubt and self-loathing and fear and loneliness in this really positive way, and to take that and then bring it to my piano and my guitar and say, like, okay, piano, what do you want to do with this one? Okay, guitar, how are we gonna tell this story? And so I ended up with you know, the songs that are on the starter wife and a whole bunch more that will be coming, I guess, down the road with the next, maybe the next project as it comes.
Yeah, so you have released some singles leading up to this project.
Hmm.
Clear Boo, which I love. And I gotta say, Ghosting is my favorite song off the album.
Is it?
Um, yeah, I love Ghosting. I even put a snippet of that song on the IG story from earlier. Um, and then Enough to Kill was also a single. And of course, you went on to release the project this past October. Again, it's available on all the platforms right now. So go stream it, get these feelings in there, and support this record. You have done a lot of performing last year, um, most notably in Lexington. I heard that while you was talking in your show, you mentioned that you did some recording um, in Lexington. Was it for this particular project, or was it some another previous project that you worked on?
Yeah, well, so Kenny, I have to thank you here because you have been coming out to my shows for a long time, and so you did know my music prior to my working in Lexington, just when I would bring the band through on tour, and thank you so much for your support. But one of the other people that was always really kind and supportive and really loving and interested in my music along that path was Dwayne Lundy. at the Lexington Recording Company. And when I heard some of the albums that he had made by some of the other sort of indie folk bands that I love, including one of my very dear friends, Dan Rodriguez, I was like, I would like to work with this man. I would like to make an album in this town, in this studio, with this brilliant artist. A lot of times producers kind of get swept under because they're just behind the gears, you know, they're the man behind the curtain in a way. But Dwayne, because of the way that we did this album, I mean, we were ready to go into the studio in March of 2020 when we got back from South by Southwest. And then everything closed down and we were shut down for 2 years. So Dwayne took a terrible situation of us not being able to get together and make the album the way that we expected to. And he turned it into something really beautiful and extraordinary. And we all, from wherever we were, you know, hunkering down, we all emailed in our tracks. Like, home recording is such now that we can do that sort of thing. And he just took this hodgepodge mess of recordings from all of these different players, whether it was Andrew Sovine based down in Savannah, or Thor Jensen in Nashville, or Kieran all the way in Sydney, Australia, or me in Connecticut or New Orleans. Like, he managed to take all of these beautiful disparate parts and make them make sense together on an album there in Lexington. And then Andrew and I both came physically to Lexington to finish out our recordings. I did some vocals there, and we did all the mixing there. So yeah, that was great.
Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to him, man. Very, very talented musician as well. And you know, Lexington, we love you here. We love you in the city, and especially when you keep coming back. So you always have a place here in Lexington, you know, performing and everything. So it's always good to see you and just see how you have evolved and as a musician, as an artist, and just telling, you know, just getting yourself heard. And you know, we appreciate. We're an odd city at times, but you know, when we show love, we love hard. So we definitely love you for sure. And
Well, I love
just
having Derek's band Semper Vivi's t-shirt, because he's like just one of
yes,
the humans I know. And it's so
yeah,
great that even in your, you know, your stream, you're even in your t-shirt, you're repping your local cool bands. That's so meaningful. So great.
yeah. He's definitely one of my best friends in the local music scene. So he's a genuine good dude, and
Yeah.
his band is totally awesome. So I'm definitely repping for the locals, and I take pride of supporting local artists, musicians here in the, you know, not just in Lexington but in Kentucky in general. So shout out to Derek. I'm wearing your shirt,
Perfect.
and I'm definitely walking that for sure. I got plenty of his shirts in my closet. This is definitely one of my favorite logos here. So this is pretty cool. So you did a lot of performing last year. So you got any upcoming shows, upcoming performances that you got coming up?
I do. So I this is kind of a funny way to say this, but I have been working a day job for a good long time, where I actually had to step down for reasons of conscience. And in a way, it's terrifying to not have the income of a day job. And in a way, it's just exactly the right motivation to go for it with music. And so I am planning on starting touring very heavily again in mid-March. I'll be heading north, back and forth between New London, Connecticut, which is technically home base, and New Orleans, Louisiana, which is slowly but surely becoming home base. And of course, Lexington is literally halfway between those two spots, which is perfect. So I'll be touring very heavily in March and April, and then again in late May and June, and then again in August and September. So I'm hoping to come and visit y'all quite a bit, but you can go to the website, of course, or the social media pages. You'll be able to find all those shows listed there.
Daphne Parker Powell. That is Daphne spelled with Daphne. So go check out the social media sites. And as she pointed out, she'll be hitting the road in March. And if you enjoy the Starter Wife album, you're definitely going to enjoy it even more seeing her perform these songs in person. Because with all the hard work and the money spent on these projects, there's not a satisfying feeling than getting to bring these music to life and perform it in front of an audience. So, and from my experience, that Daphne is a really terrific performer. Um, just very, very talented and very entertaining in between songs as well. So gotta have the jokes, gotta have the ha ha ha's, leading
Some
up to the song. So I'm very pleased that you're getting back on the road and for March, and we are getting to spring. So hopefully, weather we getting there. We just got a few more weeks of winter left. So yeah, um, yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. Just
Orleans with us when we come.
oh yeah, for sure. And I definitely have to go back to. I definitely would love to go back to New Orleans again.
Come on down.
Um, so just Mardi Gras. Maybe go to a Saints game or maybe enjoy some jazz music. You know, their vibe is different in New Orleans. Their vibe is different, especially just the food. You get the dancing, you get the entertainment. New Orleans, that's a party city. That is a party city. So yeah.
Indeed.
So I'm definitely love that for sure. Um, Daphne, it is so good to have you on the show. Um, and it's been good to know you throughout the years. As you make your appearance in Lexington, and I think I got all your albums, the CD. I think I got them all.
Well,
So
on vinyl because I have the starter wife on vinyl now.
oh, you got it on vinyl? Okay,
I'll
okay.
I'll bring it to you in person. How's that?
All right, that's
Yeah.
cool. I appreciate that. Uh, but you got any final words? You got anything you want to say to the fans? You want us to say people in general? Got any final words?
Oh, I mean, just thank you so much, Kenny. This is it's wonderful to be able to talk with you, and thank you for your support through the years. Just we're just going to keep it going. We're 6 albums in. Let's keep it going until there's 25 albums or 40 albums. Let's just
And I'm gonna be having a cane by the time we get to album 40. Hopefully, I'll
yes.
still be alive for that. You know what I'm saying? So, just thank you.
Looking forward.
Continued success. Have a great upcoming tour, and I'll be keeping an eye on a potential date back to Lexington. And she's gonna be traveling and enjoy the music and everything. That's fun. That's great. Please buy the merch, buy the CDs, the album, buy whatever they have, because these artists they really work hard to perform for you and listeners out there. So please buy their merch, and they will truly appreciate it. You enjoy your festive week in New Orleans, Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, everything in between. You enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And one more, and you got an iMac, I see. It's an iMac.
I have a Mac Mini.
Okay, okay. It's still Mac. It's still Mac. So
Yeah,
technically, it's a Mac.
but
So
I do
yeah.
record and produce my own stuff, I do it on Logic, which is kind of like the granddaddy of GarageBand, and it's all Mac stuff.
Well said. You have a good night.
All right, you too. Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.